Months after hearing lengthy submissions from the main defendants in the Piarco Airport scandal, the appellate court has thrown out their appeal against the repeal of Section 34 of the Administration of Justice Indictable Proceedings Act 2011. Businessmen Steve Ferguson, Amir Idu and others had claimed that the repeal of Section 34 was unfair and was disproportionate and unjust. The Attorney General, Adoniram Logan, has labeled the ruling a red letter day. He held a news conference today at the Cabildo Chambers of Port of Spain. We have more in this report.
Former UNT financiers, businessmen Ishwa Galbaransing and Steve Ferguson, have failed to convince three appellate judges that their rights were breached in the repeal of Section 34. The businessmen, who were at the center of the airport scandal, had argued last year that the Director of Public Prosecutions, Roger Gaspard, abused his power by recommending to the Attorney General that Section 34 had to be repealed to save the criminal prosecutions in the Piarco Airport fraud matters. That matter was thrown out in the Port of Spain High Court by Madam Justice Mira Dina Mora in April of 2013. The businessmen took the matter to the appeal court before Judges Alan Mendonca, Peter Jamada and Gregory Smith. A.G. Ram Logan disclosed details of the judgments handed down today.
In a 57-page landmark historic judgment, carefully considered and rejected all of the points raised by Mr. Galbaransing and Mr. Ferguson.
Reading various excerpts of the ruling, the Attorney General then turned his guns to the opposition and members of the media who wrote articles about the repeal.
The attempt by those who are bent on creating political mischief in society to make this out as though it was some malicious, sinister, orchestrated plan is simply hypocritical, baseless, and malicious.
Mr. Galbaransing and Mr. Ferguson, however, do have the option to take the matter further to the Privy Council. The Piarco Airport inquiry relating to bid rigging and conspiracy was before the Port of Spain High Court, while the Piarco Airport inquiry too was being heard in the Port of Spain Magistrates Court. Peter Christopher, C News.
The 57-page Court of Appeal judgment on Civil Appeal number P85 Steve Ferguson versus the Attorney General and the Director of Public Prosecutions was delivered in the Hall of Justice, Port of Spain. The ruling states that there was no breach of the separation of powers principle, no infringement of the rule of law, and no breach of the due process protections of the Constitution. Among the notable paragraphs in the judgment, the parliamentary debates do not displace the allegations of the Attorney General, nor do they establish that the true intention of the amendment was other than to correct oversights and flaws in respect of Section 34 and its early proclamation. In all the circumstances, the trial judge can't be faulted for accepting the Attorney General's contention. There was no breach of the separation of powers because the collective intention of the entire Parliament was to correct collective parliamentary oversight and to correct what had become clearly a flawed policy. The Amendment Act was therefore the product of a policy decision and not that of a personal vendetta against the appellants or any others. These appeals, the ruling states, have demonstrated above all else the onerous duty and responsibility on the entire Parliament to carefully scrutinize legislation before enactment, but also the reality that even with all the care in the world, human error, collective human error, will at all times occur. The Amendment Act hasn't been demonstrated to be unconstitutional and remains the law in force in Trinidad and Tobago.